Hi everyone, welcome to the BioEdge.
There are quite a lot of mammals called red this and red that. We have the red squirrel, the red fox, and so on. But there are very few, if any, mammals that are called orange. Now, at first glance, that seems to be because mammals just aren't orange, whereas they can be red. A red duiker, one might imagine, is a reddish animal rather than an orange animal. And something similar can be found in birds, because although many birds have what looks to us like orange colors, they're also usually called red kites, and so on. Now, the same is not true, for example, in butterflies. There are quite a lot of butterflies that are called orange. And so we wondered whether it's really true that the color orange, as objectively defined by its wavelength, is really so rare in vertebrate animals. And we had a good hard look at photographs of some of these so-called red mammals and birds, and actually compared them with other animals that are acknowledged to have orange coloration, such as butterflies. And what we found was that there really isn't that much difference, and that many mammals, such as the red squirrel or the red fox, and birds such as the robin redbreast, the European robin, really have what are essentially dull orange coloration. Admittedly, very few mammals are bright orange, but the same is true really for butterflies, because some of the butterflies that are called orange really have the same sort of hue as the mammals and birds. And if those butterflies were furred or feathered, they probably would be called either red butterflies, or words along the lines of tawny or ochre, or various other fairly obscure synonyms that don't really have a clear meaning and are quite inconsistently used in nomenclature. So we wondered why it is that the people who name animals have been so reluctant to use the word orange in actually describing birds and mammals. And in the end, we came to the conclusion that it's just a psychological foible, as it were, because if you objectively compare these colors, you'll find that there really isn't any hard reason, any defensible reason not to call them orange. They are dullish orange. A red duiker, a red fox, and a red squirrel are indeed dullish orange, but they are closer to orange than to red. That's the point, is that in calling them red, we're actually giving them a misnomer, in the sense that if you had to allocate them to the closest hue, the one that gives the most distinguishing character to their somewhat brownish coloration, you would find that it was orange and not red. And so we asked ourselves, well, what is this psychological foible in the human mind, and can it be traced perhaps to a linguistic fault, in which the English language just happens to have lacked the right descriptor for these animals at the time when they were named? And so we thought maybe the word orange did not exist in Old English, and that in lieu of the word orange, people started to name things like the red fox and the red squirrel as red, just because that was the closest color they could find in the language. That would be true, for example, in several East African languages, where orange things are quite often called red, just because those languages, the Bantu languages, are rich in verbs, but rather poor in adjectives, and so people kind of approximate, and they don't really distinguish in their language between orangish and reddish objects. It's all the same to them, and so those languages wouldn't be very good in biology, where you need to make much more precise descriptions of hue. But in looking at Old English, we found that there's no real excuse, because the word for orange really has extremely ancient roots and has been present in English since the start. So you can't really blame it on the Latin or other derivations that have come to form modern English. And even in Shakespeare's time, the word orange was present, and people could well have started calling animals orange, but for some reason they didn't. And to this day, people tend to use the word red quite happily, without actually going back and comparing the hues in a more objective way. And so this BioBullet is really not so much about the biology of the animals themselves, but more about the the biology of the human mind. Why is it that we are so fallible in describing parameters that can actually be demonstrated to be wrong? So with that thought about orange in the nomenclature of animals. We'll leave you thinking, and we look forward to seeing you next time on a different topic here at the BioEdge. Bye.